Welcome to the podcast, Restore Yourself, Restore Your Marriage, where it's all about discovering the thoughts that get you in the mood, the thoughts that get you out of the mood, and how creating a deeper connection with yourself creates a deeper connection with your spouse. I'm your coach, Shelly Anderson, coaching you through life, love, and intimacy.
This is episode number 184, Sexy Wins for National Spouses Day. Oh my gosh, this is so fun. Does anyone know what January 26th is? This is a national holiday that's called National Spouses Day. But this isn't like one that we find on our calendars. This is not one where everyone's getting work off or anything like that. In fact, most people probably don't even know that this national holiday even exists. But what a fun one, right? Now, we all know about Valentine's Day, which is coming up very shortly. And that is the opportunity to celebrate love, to celebrate our relationship, to celebrate our marriage with our spouse. And often what comes with Valentine's Day are a lot of expectations, whether it's in the form of gifts or what our spouse is going to do for us, or even with sex and intimacy. But with National Spouses Day, because most people don't even know about it, there's little to no expectations that are even taking place. Now, this is kind of fun and exciting because it gives us the opportunity to approach this holiday without any expectations. So we can kind of approach it how we want. We can do it in a way that's fun, in a way that's funny, sexy, serious, intellectual, adventurous. We can do it in a lot of different ways. And that allows us to really tap into the creative side of who we are and be able to celebrate our spouse in a way that we want. So I think what the biggest difference is between Valentine's Day and National Spouses Day is that we're not really celebrating, like, let's say, the relationship or the marriage or the love. We are actually focusing on our spouse, right? Now we have the time to celebrate our spouse, like when it's their birthday, right? We get to celebrate that they were born and that they are alive. But on National Spouses Day, we can celebrate multiple aspects of our spouse. We can choose what we want to celebrate. And so this can be really fun. And because there's not really a large degree of expectations, we can really also be creative in the way that we do this. We can celebrate with time, right? Spending time with our spouse instead of just focusing on gifts and what we can give our spouse. We can celebrate by honoring them. Man, there's lots of ways we can honor our spouse, right? We can give them credit where credit is due, right? To focus on some of the things that they've actually done. And we can honor and celebrate them, like actually celebrate it. Now, this is not something we think about doing, right? We think about celebrations like usually if there's some major accomplishment, right? Like let's say when our kids graduate high school or college, sometimes we think about, hey, let's have a celebration, or for birthdays, we celebrate. Sometimes we might celebrate if there's a promotion in a job, but sometimes we don't even celebrate that. So this gives us an opportunity to just celebrate, to have fun on National Spouses Day. We can even celebrate the fact that we have a spouse. That's an accomplishment. Like, that is amazing. Being able to say, I wanted to get married. I dated. I found somebody that was attractive, that I enjoyed being around, and we committed and we got married. Like, let's celebrate that too, right? So it's interesting because our natural tendency in the human brain is going to be to go to the negative. And So sometimes when this happens and when we've been married for a little while, our brain will start focusing on the negative things about our spouse. And often in the busyness of life and having kids and work and maintaining the house and trying to have fun and all the things, we often forget to focus on the positive about our spouse, on the good, on the things that are going well, that are happening, the things that are taking place, right? Because our brain just likes to point out what's going wrong. I think sometimes our brain likes drama. It likes to find the negative and be dramatic about it because sometimes that excites us, right? Like, oh, I'm feeling fired up. Look at those things that they're doing and I don't like them. We get into it. And sometimes when things are going well and peaceful and we feel secure about things, we may never even think like that is cause for celebration. It's amazing. So we have to choose to focus on the positive and make it a point to celebrate on purpose, to celebrate the wins on purpose. And again, we can do this in whatever manner we want. We can make it fun. We can make it funny. And the title of this episode is Sexy Wins, right? For National Spouses Day. But it doesn't mean we have to be sexy about it. Sometimes if we feel like we have to be sexy about something, about sex or about the relationship, or then we feel that pressure. And in the process, sexiness leaves. But if we're able to say, oh, I want to take a fun approach, I want to take a funny approach or a humorous approach or something that is just something I've never done before, right? A new approach to celebrating. That could naturally and organically lead to a sense of feeling sexy, right? It will actually trigger it all by itself. These positive experiences and emotions, like being able to feel like, yes, we laughed together and that was a great feeling, that can lead to sexy times, right? We don't have to say, I have to have a sexy celebration. But if we include humor, include fun, include laughter and surprises and things that we've never celebrated before, no matter how silly or quirky, doing things like that and putting more of those elements in actually can trigger the feeling of like, hey, I'm kind of getting in the mood. I like this. That is amazing. It's an amazing experience. So I wonder if, even though we're just past National Spouses Day, if we can think about how to celebrate it this week, right? What if we just took a little time to find some funny, fun, creative way to celebrate our spouse? It doesn't have to be elaborate, right? I'm not talking about throwing a big party. But let's discuss a few things we could do that really do not take a lot of time or money, but can really help us stay focused on the positive. It can give us that mental shift, that mindset on purpose with intention, instead of just allowing our negative brain to sometimes take over and, have the reins and be in control and have us focusing on the negative. So let's choose to focus on the positive on purpose. Okay, so how do we do that? So let's talk about just a few ideas that you can incorporate this week. 20 minutes of holding hands or cuddling or anything in that general category, right? And we're talking about the non-sexual affection, right? Hugging, squeezing, holding each other close. This releases oxytocin. Yes, this is the bonding hormone. We like this. This sends a chemical message to our brain that's like, hey, this is a good connection. This is a good thing. We feel good in this relationship. And so we can do that simply by holding hands and cuddling and reconnecting through affection. We can leave a few simple love notes around, right? This doesn't have to be long. This can just be like one or two sentences. And I think this could be so fun to focus on our spouse's unique quirks, right? Maybe sometimes the things that we don't think about appreciating. This would be a great time to appreciate the little things, like maybe the way they cross their feet when they're sitting on the couch or something, things that we don't normally pay attention to, but we're like, hey, I kind of like that. We can leave little notes about that show that we notice and that we're paying attention, and it kind of warms our heart and soul. So, what are some little things maybe that we could write a little love note about? We could write about something that our spouse did recently. We could write about how hard of a worker they are. We could appreciate how they even went to work, right? A lot of spouses don't go to work. We could write, hey, I appreciate that you go to work. I appreciate that you are working hard for yourself and for our family. I appreciate that. We could leave a little love note about how we feel when we're around them, or the things that we've been able to accomplish because of who they are, and that we have been able to accomplish things that we have wanted to because we are with them, right? It's that synergistic type and part of the relationship, which is awesome. What if we could write a little love note about something that is fun and humorous, not in a mean way, but like, hey, this is how you make me smile. This is how you make me laugh. This is how you bring this joy into my life, right? A little love note about that would be awesome. What about a love note about their intelligence, right? How smart they are, how they are able to solve certain problems, either in the home, with the kids, things outside, out in the community, that they're smart. They're a smart person. What about their ability to just support you as a person? Maybe you have your own goals and dreams and things that you want to accomplish. If they've ever been supportive of that and they're like, yes, you should totally do that. I love that. What if we could write a love note that just says that we appreciate that about them? What about their parenting? It's so easy for spouses to maybe look at the negative parts of parenting. But what if we were able to say, you are really good at this when it comes to parenting? I really appreciate that. Sometimes when it comes to parenting, my husband and I, on so many things, we're on the same page. And then on other things, we're on the opposite side of things. And sometimes I really, when my husband is explaining how he wants to parent a child or something, and it's in opposition of me, I have to really take a step back and say, oh, there is value here. There is value that we have two spouses, two parents that think totally different. This just gives our children more opportunities to receive help and guidance. And there have been so many times where I have really appreciated my husband's different viewpoint, different perspective, different ideas about how to approach parenting that I never would have thought of. And there's value in that. And so I think sometimes we can overlook those differences and say, that's valuable. I appreciate that. What about if we left a little note about their sexiness? Ooh, the things that we find attractive about them, whether it's a certain article of clothing they wear, and you're just like, yeah, I love it when you wear that shirt. Or maybe it's a physical feature that really grabs your attention and draws you in. What if we could just write a little love note about that? What about their financial smarts? If they're taking care of business, right? The bills are being paid. The mortgage is being paid. We've got money in savings, right? What do we appreciate that? Can we write a little love note about that we're working on that and we're taking care of business? That can be super sexy too. What about just some things that they do, whatever it is, around the house? Whether it's consistent or it's projects or just little things here and there, no matter what it is, what if we just took the time to think about it for a minute and write a little love note about how we appreciate that and leave it for them somewhere so they can find it? And then finally, what if we just focused on the ways that that person, our spouse, is loving and kind? Like, what if we thought about their kindness and we were able to think of a specific way that they were kind and said, "Hey, I just loved when you did this. It was so kind of you. I really appreciate that about you. I noticed it. Thank you." What if we did that? Looked for their kind acts. See, going through this process, it seems so simple. And sometimes when we have simple ideas presented to us, we may overlook them or discount them and say, like that's not going to work for me, right? This shows up a lot when we talk about gratitude or being thankful, right? Oh, yeah. Okay, I know I should be thankful. And then we don't actually go through the process of thinking about it and being thankful or being grateful or being appreciative. But what we discount is what happens in our brain when we do that. We are intervening with the natural system of focusing on the negative, and we're saying, "Hey, let's spend some time on the positive. Let's spend some time focusing on all these things that we actually appreciate about our spouse. Let's do that instead of just allowing all the negative." This is a game changer because we are going to feel according to the types of thoughts that we have. And so if we naturally go to the negative and think about the negative things and all the things our spouse isn't doing or isn't doing right or whatever, we're going to feel negative. But if we do the opposite and say, you know what, I am going to spend a little bit of time this week focusing on the things that I appreciate about my spouse and look for those little ways that we can celebrate those things, then having those types of thoughts in our mind is going to generate and produce positive feelings naturally, right? It's not forced. We're not trying to convince ourselves of something that's not true. We're looking for the evidence on purpose to say, let's reflect on those things. Let's reflect on these positive attributes of my spouse so that we can celebrate them. This is real stuff. We will naturally have good feelings towards them, and they're real. It's not fake feelings, they're real feelings. So those are a few things that we could try to celebrate this week. A few ways that we could do this is that we could make a poster for our spouse and put it up somewhere that they're not expecting, right? That maybe celebrates their accomplishments, something that they've done. Maybe they've accomplished something really significant at work and we can just make a poster about it because it's National Spouses Day and we're going to celebrate it. We can make a banner, right? And hang it across the house or across our bedroom. Maybe we make a banner that says the world's sexiest 48-year-old husband. And we just hang it across. And I think that would be so fun and so like such a surprise, right? It's just out of the ordinary. And that is a fun thing to add to our relationship. So we can do things that are unexpected and bringing this idea of celebrating all these different types of things can really add the element of surprise, which our brain likes. And when our brain is able to experience new things and unexpected things and surprises, our brain goes, yes, this is good. This is fun. I like this. And it will give us those positive thoughts and positive emotions that can really help us feel connected and bonded to our spouse. The other thing we can celebrate is getting through something that was challenging. Now, this maybe could be focused on either accomplishments that our spouse did, maybe at work or outside the home, but it also could be like, hey, oh my gosh, do you remember a month ago? Like we had to go through some crazy stuff and we got through it. And I want to celebrate you and how you handled things, right? So that we could get through it and how our family was able to move forward because of it. So we can celebrate the fact that we've come out on the other side of hard times. Or maybe we can celebrate, hey, we're in the middle of it. We are in the thick of it as we speak. And you know what? Like we're doing okay. We're getting through it. Let's celebrate that we are in the middle of it and we are here. We are showing up. We are trying. Let's celebrate that. That's awesome. It's an awesome thing to celebrate. Maybe we can get a medal at the dollar store or a fake trophy and we could put a title on it and give it to our spouse for something that they've accomplished or an admirable characteristic that they have, and we can give them an award for it, right? Let's celebrate that. Let's give them that medal, that trophy. And we can also do something like relaxing. We can either maybe make a bubble bath for our spouse and say, you know what? I appreciate your hard work. I appreciate all the things that you've been doing. I drew up a bath for you. We light a candle. We use aromatherapy. We get the mood just nice and relaxed and calm. And we can give them that downtime for themselves. Or maybe we join them, right? And we take a bubble bath together. And that's just another way that we can do something maybe that we don't normally do. It's something a little bit out of the ordinary. Okay, as we wrap up, I want to give you 3 more ideas of things that you could also do. You could also visit the place where you guys first met, or maybe had a first date, right? And just celebrate and discuss, like, I remember meeting you here. And this is what really drew me into you. This is what I liked about you. And I want to celebrate those things. I want to remember those things, those little details. Same thing with where you went for your first date, right? This is what I remember about you on our first date. And being able to go there just allows that time away from everything else that we're used to doing, the busyness of life, and gives us those moments to actually focus on these unique attributes of our spouse, the things that drew us in to them in particular. The second thing is eat something together or cook something together. Involve some food. Food is sexy. Yes, food can be very sexy, but part of it is because there's usually interaction taking place when food is involved, whether you make it or not, right? And so being able to say, hey, let's involve food and celebrate each other, that can be a great time. Really, really fun way to just slow things down for a little bit of time in this world that is so full of distractions and busyness. And finally, this is kind of a fun one. And maybe you guys already do this for Valentine's Day, but I was like, man, I don't think I do this, but we can just get out our wedding book and just allow that time to say, I remember this day. I remember things leading up to this day. I remember the positive emotions that I felt while we were making that commitment to one another, right? Being able to remember, hey, my spouse committed to me all this, right? With my own quirks, my own weaknesses, my own flaws. Like my spouse committed to me and everything that came with me. And we can really celebrate that our spouse wanted to do that and was willing to do that and is still in it, still doing that. That is worth celebrating. So this next week, see if you can pick some of these ideas and incorporate them. It doesn't matter how many you do. You could do one a day. You could do a few a day. You can do just one this week, and that would still be awesome, especially if you're thinking about it every day. But the goal is to get your brain and your mind on board thinking about these things, because when you're able to think these positive things about your spouse, you're going to feel positive about yourself. And you know who wins when that happens? You do. We like to feel good as humans, and we can create that for ourselves when we choose to think positive thoughts about our spouse. We are choosing to feel positive towards our spouse. It's a beautiful gift. Not only do we win, but our spouse wins as well. It is a true win-win. I love thought work because it's not about trying to convince yourself of things that aren't true. It is about choosing to focus on the things that are positive and true. And so this next week, pick a few of those, see if you can incorporate them, and really enjoy celebrating National Spouses Day. Because remember, the more you restore this type of intimacy with yourself, the more you restore it with your spouse. Thank you so much for listening today, and I hope you will join me again next week.